please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Captain's Log, Subdates 23.1129.2. Famous or not, if you commit a crime, do not expect preferential treatment here. We've had a few try it, and it always ends the same way. They are turned into a human-sent iPad for a week, possibly 3. Welcome everyone to the halls of injustice. Today we welcome inmates number 188 to the ISO cubes. Inmates number 188 has had a career in the spotlight to an extent, but is also because of a consequence felt by many who have been in the spotlight to then lose the spotlight, along with personal tragedies and addiction problems, has gotten themselves into a lot of hot water over their lifetime, culminating in inmates number 188 receiving a lengthy, and deservedly so, sentence. Inmates number 188 is more commonly known as Sunny, aka Tammy Sytch. Tammy, or Sunny, is going to be here with us for what's going to feel like a life sentence. I'm going to tell you a bit about them, along with the legal problems they've had over the years. We're then going to discuss the crime that got them into the hottest water they could get into, to then finish with the sentence that they deserve for the crimes they have committed. So just who is inmate number 188, aka Sunny? Sunny was born in 1972 in New Jersey. She is of Russian and American descent. In 1993, she entered Smoky Mountain Wrestling with a fictional in-character storyline presenting her as having come from studying pre-law at Wellesley College in Massachusetts. Yeah, I pronounced it that way on purpose. What started her out in the industry was actually her boyfriend Chris Candido. To help her make extra money, she signed a 6-month deal with Smoky Mountain, appearing on screen as Tammy Fitch, playing a villain who idolized Hillary Clinton. Seems accurate by today's standards. At this point, there weren't many prominent positions offered to females. In 1993, an unnamed Sytch made a cameo appearance at Eastern Championship Wrestling's Super Summer Sizzler Spectacular event. That's a lot of S's. I like alliteration. In 1994, she was contacted by the then WWF and began appearing as Tamara Murphy, a commentator for live event news. 1 month later, Chris Candido joined the WWF and the duo began appearing as Sunny and Skip, collectively known as the Body Donners. They were originally baby faces, but the crowd didn't give a shit, so they got booed. It was hilarious. This is because even though the internet wasn't as much a thing, people recognised them. Shocker. While in the WWF until 1998, she worked with the Legion of Doom, the Godwins, the Smoking Guns. I like the Smoking Guns. She was a short-time manager of Farouk Assad, helping him get the Intercontinental title. She also served as a special guest commentator during Rocky Maevia's WWF debut in 1996. During her time at the WWF, she was one of the hottest products the WWF had. So much so, AOL had announced in 1996 she was the most downloaded woman on their website. She was heavily featured on TV, for example MTV Singled Out and Entertainment Tonight. There were rumours going around during her brief time in the WWF that she was having issues with Sable, who was quite highly thought of for all the wrong reasons, and also an addiction to painkillers, as well as no-showing several events. She was released in July of 1998, so these rumours had some weight to them. After she was released, she joined ECW, and she stayed there for about a year. During her time, she did in fact talk about her past issues with drugs and her reformation. In 2000, she joined WCW after appearing in Extreme Pro Wrestling. Candido was also there at this point. They were together until he passed away in 2005. From 2000 to 2018, she worked the independent circuit. She did, in 2007, 2009 and 2011, make appearances with the WWE, one of which was her being inducted into the Hall of Fame by the entire roster of divas in 2011. Over her years as a valet, manager, she was accused of many things. Sable once, for example, accused her of lying about being requested with a 6-figure sum to pose in Playboy. Shawn Michaels had claimed in the 90s that Sunny was having an affair with Bret Hart because she would entertain his children whenever they followed him on tour. Sunny did also pose nude for Missy Hyatt's adult site, and in 2016, via Vivid Entertainment, featured in an adult film titled Sunny Side Up In Through the Back Door. I feel like that may be self-explanatory, and in 2020, after being released from prison, she created an Only Fibro Fupa account. There is much more to Sunny, there really is, but that's what I want to focus on next when I go through her rather lengthy list of legal issues. Before we get to the more recent crime that happened in 2022, you need to know about all the other ones beforehand, because I've mentioned she'd been to prison before. She's been there a few times. I'm going to insert a small disclaimer now. There are obvious issues Tammy has had over the course of her life, but I'm not going to excuse the crimes committed. In 2012, she was arrested 5 times within the space of 4 weeks for disorderly conduct, third-degree burglary, and 3 counts of violating a protective order. She was also arrested in January 2013 for violating another protective order. In a Connecticut jail, she served 114 days and was released in May 2013. Throughout May and June of 2015, she was arrested 3 times in Pennsylvania for driving under the influence. She pled guilty, but did not serve the 90 days she was sentenced to because she spent 97 days in rehab. She was, though, charged with violating her parole in September and remained in jail until February 2017. While on probation, she was arrested in New Jersey for 2 DUIs on January 23rd and February 2nd, 2018, along with being charged with fleeing the scene of an accident in relation to the 2nd of February arrest. She failed to appear in court and was then arrested again on the 27th of February 2018 for 2 fugitive from justice charges and 6 counts of contempt of court. She was then placed in the Monmouth County Correctional Institution. While she was being processed, it was then discovered she was also a fugitive from justice due to her parole in Pennsylvania having been revoked in 2017. She was then extradited to Pennsylvania in March and remained at the Carbon County Correctional Facility until she was paroled on the 9th of October 2018. On the 15th of February 2019, a bench warrant was issued and the Carbon County Probation Department filed a motion to revoke her parole. She was arrested in Seaside Heights, New Jersey later that month for another DUI and other driving offences and released into the custody of the Holmdel Police Department. After it was discovered she had outstanding warrants in both Holmdel Township and Knowlton Township, New Jersey. She was charged with contempt of court on both. On the 20th of March, she was extradited to Monmouth County back to Carbon County to address her Pennsylvania charges. After over a year in prison, she was released on February 25th, 2020. We're not done yet, by the way, folks. 5 months later, in July, she was arrested again for allegedly eluding a police officer and contempt or violation of a domestic violence restraining order and operating a motor vehicle during a second suspended license. She was held at the Monmouth County Correctional Institution and released in June 2021 due to a court order. January 13th, 2022 in New Jersey, in Keansburg, she was arrested for unlawfully possessing a weapon and making certain threats of the terroristic variety. She was booked into the Monmouth County Correctional Institution but released the following day after being ordered to check in weekly with the court. The charges stem from an incident in which she allegedly threatened to unalive an intimate partner with a pair of scissors. If convicted, she faced 11 years in prison. A month later, she was arrested in Keansburg and charged with 11 driving offences, including a DUI. This should paint one picture. Sunny is a very troubled individual, and many people over the years have wanted Sunny to be better, do better, to get help and succeed. I've seen many interviews with Jim Cornette being very vocal about wanting her to get better. Many do. It's just what you want for everyone, really. But every time Tammy is given the chance, Sunny, she took the chance and shoved it up the person who offered it to her arse. With this now, we're going to go to March 25th, 2022, to the crime that got her put away for what's going to feel like the rest of her life. On March 25th, 2022, a heavily intoxicated Tammy Sytch, behind the wheel of her Mercedes-Benz, crashed into a Kia driven by Julia Lassiter, who had stopped at a traffic light. Tammy had been driving at a high speed when she crashed into the Kia Sorento. She was transported to hospital with unknown injuries, and samples of her blood was taken for analysis. Julian sadly did not survive this. The 75-year-old man sadly passed away. In May of 2022, she was arrested on DUI and manslaughter-related charges because the toxicology reports found that her blood alcohol content was 3.5 times the legal limit during the crash. She was initially released after posting $227,500 bond. A judge, though, deemed her to be a danger to the community and revoked her bond 6 days later, and she was returned to jail. Tammy should have never been allowed behind a car or the wheel of a car ever again. The number of DUIs in multiple states is phenomenal at this point, and it is an insult to each individual state's system that she was still allowed to drive afterwards. Tammy has remained in prison ever since. And we skip ahead now to August 16th, 2023, where Tammy Sytch, aka Sunny, aka Inmate No. 188, pled no contest to the charges. This surprised me. This to me was a bit of a shock, because not guilty. Guilty are typically where people go. She's not even bothering because she knows there's no point. She's screwed. Although I would have thought pleading guilty might give her a reduced sentence. Pleading no contest indicates somebody wanting to take responsibility, which, if true, is somewhat admirable. Because Tammy pled no contest, we're going to go straight to the sentence, which will include a statement on the day of the sentence from Tammy herself. Tammy Sytch's defense attorney sought a lower sentence because she requires specialized treatment for her mental disorder and for a physical disability. The prosecutor asked that Sytch be sentenced to the maximum penalty, 26 years in prison, for the crash, as she is a danger to society for the repeated DUI offences. The lowest permissible sentence for her is 10.5 years. That is according to the state sentencing guidelines. Tammy's defense attorney listed 2 witnesses, Dr. Jeffrey Danziger and Dr. John Matthew Fabian, one being a forensic and clinical psychiatrist, and the other, well, forensic and clinical psychiatrist, just from different states, basically. The motion filed did not state what mental disorder the psychiatrists would testify about. When she did plead no contest, though, she had been diagnosed with PTSD, BPD, and BD. She was on the medication Prozac, which is an antidepressant, to help with these conditions. On November the 27th, 2023, Tammy Sytch, aka Sunny, inmate number 188, was sentenced to 17.5 years in prison and 8 years of probation, along with having her driving license revoked for good. In the courtroom, Tammy addressed the victim's family directly and said, "I know my words are not enough, but please know that I think about you every day. I have done something horrible, but I am so much more than the worst that I have done. I try and think about the good I have done because when I sit alone and think about what I did to the Lasser family that tragic day, from a stupid decision, I feel the regret and remorse deep inside my soul. I know they don't get to rest knowing he is gone. When I was 20, I lost my father as well to heart disease. And just last year, I lost my 87-year-old mother while I have been incarcerated. I never got to say goodbye to her, just as they didn't get to say goodbye to their beloved family member. I do not know if because she's been in prison ever since her arrest, this counts as time served. I would assume it does. Either way, she, at the age of 50, is unlikely to come out of a prison cell until she is closer to 67 years old. This sentence fits the crime, based on state law, which is what she's been sentenced with.